Hi, I'm Paul Hollis. Welcome to Sax Express and another bite-sized lesson. This is part one of a two-part series on vibrato. And in this video, I'm going to explain the vibrato used by most saxophonists, and in part two, a slightly more complicated vibrato technique using a combination of two elements to create the smoothest of all vibrato. I've put a card to part two at the end of this video, so let's get started. Vibrato is a variation of pitch above and below the regular pitch required. Notice that the pitch fluctuates evenly above and below the regular pitch, and this still creates the impression of the actual pitch within the waveform. The jaw is used to create the fluctuation by adding and releasing pressure on the reed like this. Oh, 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 oh. You'll notice that when I play, there's very little evidence of any movement from the jaw. Let me show you. As I said, the aim is to create a very even waveform above and below the note. The tendency is for the jaw to move quicker when adding pressure than when releasing it, and this can cause a very aggressive effect, a little bit like the hunting horn. Ouch. The best way is to start with a long note and bend it down. The upper A is a great note for this, and if you're using my Presto system, that's a 2. If you're struggling, try using 2 fingers under the jaw and gently add pressure whilst blowing. You'll notice that very little pressure is required. Get this as smooth as possible. Now set a metronome to 60 beats per minute and play 2 cycles per beat. And increase this to 3 and then 4 per beat. It's very important to practice this away from any music until it's well under control. I've done a simple track at 60 beats per minute for you to practice with, plus a sheet of notes to accompany the track. So go get it. It's linked in the description below. Vibrato can vary in 2 ways, width and speed. The width of vibrato varies depending on the amount of pressure applied by the jaw. The vibrato speed is affected by the tempo of the jaw movement. Over the decades, vibrato has come to define many of the eras in jazz. Listen to Johnny Hodges in the 1950s. His wide vibrato was quite popular back then. Then listen to Phil Woods. A couple of decades later, you'll notice that although he has a relatively quick vibrato at times, he also varies the speed with a much slower one. And this gives him a nice variety of sound. Not sure whether it was a Phil Woods innovation, but his use of adding vibrato partway through a long note is commonly used by many modern players. It's certainly a favourite of mine. Now, the vibrato today has become a little more subtle. Many players using much less vibrato, some even none. When playing in a big band though, sax players usually add vibrato when the section is in harmony and without vibrato when playing in unison. That pretty much sums up the jaw method of vibrato. If you're interested in taking your vibrato to the next level, then head over to part 2. You will not regret it. And don't forget to download the free practice track and PDF. It's linked in the description. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you've not already done so. And I'll see you in part 2.